The night everything changed began like any other dot in the city of New Avalon. Lights flickered peacefully in tall glass towers. Cars moved along bright roads. People laughed in restaurants, scrolled on their phones, and watched shows at home. The sky above was clear and dark, filled with quiet stars. No one knew that by the next sunrise, the world would never be the same. Far away from the city, on a lonely hill covered with dry grass and old rocks, stood an observatory. Inside it, a young woman named Dr. Alara Hayes stared at a screen, trying to stop her hands from shaking. She had been awake for 20 hours. Her brown hair was tied back in a loose knot, and there were dark circles under her eyes. Empty coffee cups stood beside her keyboard. On the screen in front of her, numbers updated again and again, red and urgent. "Come on," she whispered. "Tell me this is wrong." But the numbers did not change their meaning. They told the same story. Something was coming, something huge, something bright enough to burn worlds. Alara leaned closer. The data was from several satellites that watched the sun and deep space around it. At first, she thought it was a glitch. Too extreme, too insane, a solar flare the size of a planet, a storm of energy so strong that it would break every satellite, every power grid, every city light. It could melt circuits, burn through cables, shut down hospitals, freeze food supplies, and throw airplanes from the sky. "What are you?" she whispered. She checked the time, 7:43 p.m. If her calculations were right, the solar storm would hit Earth in about 7 hours. At 3 a.m., the middle of the night, for most people, it would happen while they slept. Elara grabbed her tablet and ran down the metal stairs to the lower level. Her co-workers were already gone. Their shift had ended. The observatory was quiet except for the buzz of machines. She opened a secure call to the Global Space Weather Center. The call connected after a long, stressful minute. A tired man appeared on the screen. His name was Dr. Malik. His shirt was wrinkled. He looked like someone who had not slept properly in weeks. "Ilara," he said, "I got your alert. Please tell me your system is broken." "I wish," she answered. "Check your own data." He pressed a few buttons, and his face changed as he saw the numbers. His mouth went dry. "This can't be right. The readings are from 4 different satellites," Alara said. 2 American, 1 European, 1 Indian. All show the same thing. A solar flare with energy far beyond anything recorded. "How long?" he asked quietly. 7 hours, she said. "Maybe less." He looked away for a moment, then back at her. "If this hits us full force," he said, "it will destroy almost all electronics on the planet. Power grids, communication, navigation, everything. We could be thrown back hundreds of years." Alara nodded. "I know." He rubbed his face, thinking fast. "We have some shields on a few satellites, a few bunkers, but nothing big enough. Nothing global." Alara hesitated. She had been hoping he would say those words. "Maybe," she said slowly. "We could build something. Not physical shields, not walls of metal. Something else." Dr. Malik frowned. "What do you mean?" "Ilara, we have 7 hours. You can't build anything in 7 hours." "Not alone," she said. "But what if—" "We don't do it alone." He stared at her, confused. Alara took a deep breath. "What if," she said, "we use everyone?" 3 hours later, the world buzzed with fear. Governments had been warned. Leaders held emergency calls. Scientists shared data in encrypted channels. The news leaked faster than officials could control. People searched the internet, reading the same words over and over. Unprecedented solar storm approaching. Power systems at risk. Prepare for total blackout. Some people panicked. Some prayed. Some ignored it, thinking it was just another rumor. In New Avalon, the streets were still busy, but the air felt strange. The city lights seemed a little dimmer. People spoke in nervous voices. Somewhere in a crowded apartment, a girl hugged her dog. Somewhere in a hospital, a surgeon worried about patients on life support. Somewhere in a small cafe, a boy looked at his phone and whispered, "Is this really the end?" Back on the lonely hill, Alara stood in a large circular room, surrounded by computers. The observatory had become a nerve center. Screens showed maps, satellite images, and live calls with scientists from every continent. Dr. Malik's face appeared on the main screen. "We have one chance," he said. Alara nodded. Her idea was crazy, but crazy was all they had. Her plan was simple in words and impossible in scale. Use humanity itself as a shield, not with bodies, with light. She had discovered something strange in the data. The solar storm did not just react to magnetic fields. It reacted, in a small but measurable way, to certain types of energy patterns around the planet. Patterns that could be made by many small sources acting together. "Think of it like this," Alara explained to the team, pointing at a model on the screen. "The storm is like a giant wave. We cannot stop the whole wave. But if millions of tiny stones hit it at just the right time and rhythm, we might break its shape. We might make it flow around us instead of through us." "Millions of stones?" someone asked. "Millions of lights," Alara said. "Every screen, every rooftop, every city, every device that can produce a strong electromagnetic signal. If we sync them, if we pulse them together, we can create a global pattern, a kind of soft shield." A young engineer frowned. "You want the whole planet to blink?" "Yes," Alara said simply. "I want the whole planet to shine together. One rhythm, one pattern, Another scientist shook his head. We don't have that kind of control. We don't have that kind of time. Alara looked around the room. What do we have? She asked. Silence. For a moment, no one spoke. Then a woman from the communication team said, we have the internet. A man from an energy company said, we have billions of lights. A programmer said, we have code. Dr. Malik added, we have fear and hope. Sometimes that's enough. Alara nodded. We send the pattern, she said. We share the code. We ask everyone to help. Power plants, phones, buildings, car lights, broadcasting towers. We ask them to sync and pulse in this rhythm when the storm hits. And if they don't, someone asked, then we fall. Alara said quietly, and the night after this one will be dark for a very long time. Messages spread across the world. Government alerts, emergency apps, news feeds, social media, TV, radio. At 3 a.m. UTC, all lights, screens, and devices in your control should follow this signal. Do not turn everything off. Turn everything into a beacon. Tonight, we shine together or we fall apart. Some people doubted it. Some argued online, but many listened. In city control rooms, engineers rewrote code to make skyscraper lights flicker in the exact rhythm Alara had created. In homes, people downloaded a simple app that would flash their phones at the right time. In stadiums, huge screens were reprogrammed on ships. Captains adjusted navigation lights. On farms, people turned vehicles, lamps, and even old radios into small, pulsing signals. Alara watched the map on her screen as more and more places lit up as ready. Green dots spread like stars across continents. Her chest tightened. Is it enough? She asked. Dr. Malik's voice came through the speakers. We don't know, he said. We can't know. Not until it hits. Alara looked at the clock. 2:51 a.m., 9 minutes left. Outside, the night sky looked quiet, but in space, not far from Earth, a storm the size of a world came screaming toward them, a wave of fire and charged particles, hungry to tear through circuits and crush power. Inside the observatory, everyone went silent. Alara placed her hand on the main control panel. This is it, she whispered. On my mark, Malik said. 10, 9, 8. Across the planet, billions of people watched their clocks. In their homes, on streets, in hospitals, in airports, in ships on black oceans, in small villages under dusty skies. 3, 2, 1. Now Alara pressed the key. And on that night, in one single heartbeat, humanity burned brighter than suns. At the exact moment Alara pressed the key, the world changed. Lights across New Avalon began to pulse in perfect rhythm. Saw it. Bright, soft, bright, like the slow beating of a giant heart. Every window and every tall building flashed. Street lamps flickered. Car headlights blinked in sync. Even the small screens inside people's hands glowed with the same pattern. For the first time in human history, every person who was awake felt connected to everyone else alive on Earth and far above them. The storm arrived out at the edge of space. The solar flare tore across the void like a burning ocean. It was faster than anything humans had ever imagined. Satellites were the first to feel it. Their sensors screamed warnings, their metal skins heating instantly. A few shut themselves down to survive. A few tried to hide behind protective plates. A few simply died. Their signal lines went dark. Inside the observatory, Alara watched the satellite feed drop to half, then a quarter, then almost nothing. Her heart hit her ribs hard. Malik, she said, voice trembling, we're losing them? I know, he answered over the call. Hold steady. The flare is only beginning. On a screen beside them, a bright line appeared the front of the storm. It hit Earth's atmosphere like a hammer hitting glass. The sky turned white, the clouds glowed orange, and the air itself seemed to vibrate. People across the world froze in shock. Some stood on rooftops. Some pressed their faces to windows. Some stepped outside and looked up and wondered. Above them, the entire sky shimmered, as if someone had painted fire across it. In the city of New Avalon, a little boy whispered from a balcony, Mom, the sky is glowing. His mother held him closer, voice shaking, I know, just stay with me. The world watched. And then the storm struck. Deep inside the observatory, every machine shook, screens flickered, lights flashed too brightly. A few devices blew out with sparks. Alara gripped the desk until her knuckles turned white. Is the global sync holding? Mostly, Malik replied. Some cities dropped, others came online, but the pattern is still strong. Alara stared at the giant map in front of her. Green dots, active beacons, covered most continents. The pulse pattern spread like waves across oceans, mountains, deserts. But the solar storm pushed harder. The atmosphere glowed like a giant shield catching fire. Electric lines across the planet began to overload. Power plants roared, transformers buzzed, screens glitched. Phone towers shook as if struck by invisible fists. A technician shouted, we just lost 12 regions. Another replied, 3 more came back. Alira's chest tightened. Hold. In New Avalon, the city lights flickered dangerously, threatening to go dark. Hospitals switched to backup generators. Airports held planes on the ground. In one apartment, an old woman prayed beside a lamp that pulsed like a beating heart. A bus driver pulled over, holding his breath as the street lamps flashed. A soldier stood guard outside an embassy, hand shaking on his rifle. Everywhere fear. Everywhere hope, because every blinking light, every glowing phone screen, every pulsing sign was part of the shield, part of the plan, part of humanity. Then the storm hit full force. It was like a tidal wave of fire breaking over the atmosphere. Electric currents surged into the air, wrapping around the planet in swirling ribbons of violent energy. Windows rattled. Metal hummed. The entire world vibrated. And in that moment, the global pulse stuttered. Lights dipped. Screens froze. Beacons flickered. The pattern almost collapsed inside the observatory. Ilara leaned forward in panic. No, 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 stay with us. Malik yelled. We need more power. I'm rerouting signals from the Pacific. The screen filled with warnings. Overload, magnetic spike, red failure. Likely pattern breaking. Jella felt everything inside her drop. Had they failed? Had the world come together only to still fall into darkness? But then one tiny light appeared on the map, then another, then 20 more, then 100. A town in South America joined. Then a city in China. Then an island in the Pacific. Then an oil rig in the Arctic. Then a ship in the Atlantic. Then a cluster of villages in Africa. Then a row of houses in a poor neighborhood in India. Lights came back. Patterns synced. People who had doubted suddenly believed. People who had feared suddenly found courage. People who were powerless suddenly mattered. They all pressed on, and the world glowed again. Ilara felt tears in her eyes. They're doing it. They're actually doing it. Malik whispered, Ella, they heard you. For a few seconds, no one spoke. Everyone stared at the map, watching humanity shine. Green dots turned into green clouds too. Many to count. The pattern stabilized. And when the storm pushed down harder, the world pushed back. Humans did not have shields of metal. They did not have magic. They did not have advanced alien defenses. They had light. Billions of small lights together. They formed a soft electromagnetic wave that rippled across the planet, like tiny voices shouting at once, like countless hands raised in unity. And the solar storm, violent, massive, unstoppable, finally hit that wave. It slowed, bent, shifted, split. Most of it was deflected sideways, sliding past Earth like a river breaking around a stone. A small portion still struck the planet enough to cause fires, outages, damage. But not the end. Not extinction. Not darkness. Forever. Humanity survived the first strike. Inside the observatory, the screens finally steadied. The lights dimmed back to normal glow. The warning alarms faded into silence. Ilara slumped into a chair, shaking. It worked, she whispered. It actually worked. Around her, the room erupted in cheers. People hugged. Some cried. Others laughed in disbelief. Malik grinned through the screen. You saved the world tonight, Ilara. She shook her head slowly. No, she said. Humanity saved itself. She stood and walked to the window. Outside, the city pulsed with light, tired, shaking, but still alive. Above it, the sky slowly lost its fiery glow. Stars returned. Quiet. Peace. For now. But Ilara's smile faded as she returned to her desk, because one satellite remained online, and its sensors now detected something new. Something the storm had awakened. Something massive. Something moving, and it wasn't coming from the sun. The world was celebrating survival. People hugged in streets, posted shaky videos online, sent messages to friends and strangers saying, we made it, we're still here. But inside the quiet observatory, on the lonely hill, Dr. Ilara Hayes felt no celebration. A single, blinking alert glowed on her screen. New signal detected. Source unknown. She stared at it as if it were a ghost. The solar storm had weakened, but it had also awakened something. Something hidden. Something waiting. She zoomed in on the data. The signal was deep, far beneath the electromagnetic chaos the storm had left behind. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat, so steady, so controlled, so deliberate. And it wasn't natural, not solar, not atmospheric, not human. Ilara's throat tightened. That shouldn't be there. Dr. Malik's face appeared on the main screen, his expression tired but alert. You see it too, he said. Ilara nodded. It started right after the worst part of the storm, like something turned on. Malik rubbed his forehead. The energy spike was global. It touched every system on Earth. If something was asleep, the storm may have woken it. Ilara zoomed out. The signal outlined itself into a broad pattern, an enormous circle spanning thousands of kilometers. Her heart dropped. It's under the Pacific, she whispered. Malik went quiet. Then, he said what she feared. It's coming from below the ocean floor. She looked again. Deep beneath Earth's crust, something was rising. 6 hours after the storm, people woke to a strange ache in the air, like the world was holding its breath again. Power grids flickered back to life. Phones are ebooted. Cities slowly stabilized, but then reports began appearing. Strange low vibrations felt near the Pacific. Coast animals fleeing, shorelines, fishermen hearing humming sounds. underwater seismic sensors picking up rhythmic pulses. And then a video went viral, a shaky recording from a fishing boat near Hawaii. The ocean was glowing, not bright, not violent, just a soft, deep blue light shining beneath the waves, too deep to be sunlight, too steady to be anything natural. Someone in the video whispered, "It's singing." Alara watched the clip, jaw tight. The signal from the ocean matched the signal from her instruments, a slow, repeating pattern, a call, a message, a warning. She didn't know which. By late morning, world leaders had gathered for an emergency meeting, physically for some, digitally for others. Alara was invited to speak. The room was filled with tension: presidents, generals, scientists, advisors, everyone except the world itself, which remained outside. Confused and afraid, Alara stood before them with shaking hands. "We survived the solar storm," she said, "but something else woke up because of it." She clicked a button. The giant screen behind her showed the glowing circle beneath the Pacific. "It's a structure," she said quietly, "and it's enormous." A general scoffed. "A volcano. Underwater geothermal vents?" Alara shook her head. "Volcanoes don't create perfect circles or rhythmic signals." A woman from the Japanese delegation leaned forward. "You're saying it's artificial?" Alara hesitated, then nodded, double quotes, "Yes." The room went silent. Malik appeared on a side screen. "Historically speaking, we've never seen anything like it, ever." Another general crossed his arms. "What if it's hostile?" Alara answered truthfully, "We don't know." The president of a large nation leaned back in his chair. "So we survived the sun, only to be threatened from the deep." Alara swallowed. "We need to understand it before we react." But generals seldom listened to warnings. Within minutes, orders were being made. Send drones, send submarines, send warships, send weapons. Alara felt cold. "We should not provoke it," she said sharply. "We don't know what it is." A commander turned to her. "With respect, Doctor, we can't wait for it to attack first." Malik whispered through the earpiece. "They're scared." "I know," she whispered back, "but fear makes terrible decisions." 2 hours later, the first underwater drone approached the glowing zone. Alara watched through a live feed. The screen showed long stretches of empty ocean, nothing but dark water, until the drone descended deeper than any human had seen. And the darkness ended. A massive structure sat beneath the ocean floor, buried beneath ages of rock and silt. The glow came from cracks in its surface, cracks shaped like symbols. Alara leaned in. "Zoom. Show me closer." The drone moved forward, and the symbols became clearer. Lines, circles, patterns. Every part of the structure was covered in them, pulsing like veins. Malik whispered, "It looks alive." The drone's lights brightened, and in the far distance something enormous moved, a shadow the size of a mountain. Alara's heart froze. "That's not a structure," she whispered. "That's a shell." The room behind her erupted in noise. "What do we do?" "Pull the drone back." "Is it rising? Can it reach the surface?" Alara stared at the screen in horror, because the shadow beneath the ocean wasn't rising. It was waking. Slowly, deeply, purposefully. A single glowing eye opened in the darkness. Blue. Huge, ancient. Alara stumbled backward. "No. No. The eye turned toward the drone. And for the first time, humanity heard it. A sound that shook the water, shook the drone, shook the world. A deep, resonant, echoing call. A response to the solar storm. The drone camera fizzed with static. Tan died. The feed went black. Alara stood frozen, heart racing. She whispered the words forming in her mind. "Something down there survived the last age," Malik asked softly. "The last age of what?" Alara turned to the leaders behind her, voice trembling. "The last age of humans." The world had burned brighter than suns to save itself from the storm. But now something older, something deeper, something forgotten had opened its eye. Beneath the dark ocean. And night was coming again. From the sky, but from below. For the next 12 hours, the world lived in a strange half-state, half relieved that the solar storm had passed, half terrified of the thing that had opened its eye beneath the ocean. News networks replayed the short final frame of the drone feed, a single, massive, blue eye glowing in the dark. People argued online. Some called it fake, some called it an ancient creature, some said it was a god, some said it was the end, but no one knew. In the observatory, Alara hadn't slept once. She stared at the deep ocean seismic graphs. The pulses were getting stronger. Malik's voice came through her speakers. Exhausted. "Alara, I think you should sit down." "She didn't tell me." "The vibrations are traveling through tectonic plates now. That means it's not just moving underwater." Alara felt cold. "You're saying it's affecting the entire planet?" "Yes." She closed her eyes. "Do we know what it wants yet?" "No. But it's no longer dormant." Meanwhile, near the Pacific Rim, coastal cities began reporting strange events. Birds flying inland, whales beaching themselves, tidal patterns suddenly changing. Lights flickering in perfectly calm weather. In New Avalon, the ocean near the harbor had begun to glow faint blue at night, which terrified people. Crowds gathered at the shore, unsure whether to run or stare. And then the first major sign happened, a deep bass sound, like a giant heartbeat, rolled across the world that rattled windows, shook glasses off tables, made dogs howl, made babies cry. People fell silent everywhere, offices, houses, malls, buses, sidewalks. What was that? Millions of voices asked at once. On the news, a shaken reporter said, scientists confirm the sound came from the ocean floor, the same place the unknown structure creature was detected. Alara's hands trembled. It wasn't a sound, it was a call. The emergency world meeting reconvened, this time with far more panic. The UN chamber was a storm of raised voices, military warnings, demands for action. Alara was pulled into a private room for a video briefing with top leaders. She stood before a screen showing tense faces from around the planet, generals, scientists, and advisors. The British Prime Minister spoke first. Dr. Hayes, is this creature hostile? We don't know yet, a general snapped. We need to assume the worst. Another voice. We must send warships. Another. And if it rises, do we have any protections left? Alara raised her voice. Please listen. The solar storm weakened us. Our satellites are damaged. Our communication grid is fragile. If we attack whatever this is, we could trigger something catastrophic. A stern general leaned forward. You saw it. That thing is massive. Possibly ancient, possibly beyond anything we understand. If it rises, cities will fall. Alara felt her spine go cold. She had no good answer. No one did. Malik's voice came through her earpiece. Alara, tell them the rest. She inhaled and faced the leaders again. There's something else, she said quietly. The pulses from the creature, they're not random. They're patterned. The woman from India frowned. You think it's communication? Yes, and you can decode it. Alara hesitated, not fully. But it feels like a scan, a kind of worldwide assessment. People exchanged frightened looks. A president asked, assessment of what? Alara's voice cracked as she answered, of us. An hour later, Alara returned to the observatory. Her hands were shaking as she studied the readings. The pulses from the creature were synchronizing with some parts of the planet's magnetic field. That wasn't random. That was intelligence. Malik appeared on her main screen. Hair messy, eyes red. We got a clearer reading. Show me. He shared a new pulse symbol, far more complex than before. Froze. The pattern was sharp, purposeful. Like a signature, a mark. A message. It's repeating, she whispered. Why would it repeat? Malik's voice was small. Maybe because it wants an answer. A cold wave washed through Alara. What if it thinks the solar storm was us? She said quietly. Blinked. You mean our global light pulse? Our shield? Alara nodded slowly. It was a global, coordinated emission. Bright, unified. It may have looked like a signal. Malik stared at her. You think we woke it? Alara corrected him gently. I think we called to it. Evening fell across the world again. The sky was calm to calm. Almost waiting. On beaches around the Pacific, people gathered nervously, watching the water. At 9:18 p.m., something changed. The ocean sank. Not a wave. Not a tide. It simply lowered as if something enormous beneath it had inhaled boats. Tilted. Fish flopped on sudden dry sand. People backed away in fear. And then a slow, rising hum filled the air. A deep blue glow spread throughout the water, brighter than before. In the observatory, alarms screamed. Malik shouted through the screen. The energy spike is rising again. I see it, she whispered. Alara, this is bigger than last time. I know. Alara, this could trigger tsunamis. I know. She leaned over the control panel, heart hammering. What is it doing? Then the pulse hit. The entire planet. Vibrated. Windows shattered. Streetlights buzzed. Power towers cracked. Cars stalled. Phones died. But this was no attack. This was something else. A broadcast message. A single, overwhelming, all-consuming word made of sound and energy. Who? Alara stumbled backward. She heard Malik shouting. She heard people running. Outside she heard car alarms going off, and sirens screaming. But she heard one thing above them all, the meaning of the pulse. The creature was calling to humanity. Not in anger. Not in greeting. Not in hunger. In confusion. It had been asleep. Longer than civilization itself, and humanity's sudden global flare of light. A planet blinking, like a beacon, had awakened it. Who are you? That was the question it was asking. That was what it wanted to know. But Alara looked again at the rising energy levels. The glow under the Pacific grew brighter. Too bright. The hum grew louder. Too loud. The vibrations grew stronger. Too strong. A second pulse was forming, and this one was not a question. It was a reaction, a response to fear. Alara, Malik whispered through the crackling speakers. If this pulse hits us, Alara finished the sentence for him, it could break continents. She stared at the rising signal. We need to answer it, she said. We need to tell it we are not a threat. Malik's voice shook. Alara, how do we talk to a creature older than history? She whispered. The same way we survived the sun. She reached for the controls. We shine. The observatory shook as the second pulse grew stronger. The screens flickered. Machines rattled. Dust fell from the ceiling. Alara Hayes stood in the center of the room, her hands trembling over the controls. The creature beneath the Pacific, older than nations, older than humanity, older than history, was preparing to send another pulse. And this time, the readings were terrifying. The energy curve was rising too fast, too large, too dangerous. If the pulse hit full strength, it wouldn't just break windows, it would break coasts, it would break cities, it could break the world. Malik's voice crackled through the dying speakers. Alara, the power readings just doubled. I see it, Alara. Listen to Myth. This pulse detonates. We're looking at tsunamis bigger than anything recorded. Whole continents could. I know, Alara, I know. She slammed her hand against the panel, shaking. We have to answer it before it fires. But how? Malik shouted. Alara's voice softened, the same way it hurt us before. Malik fell silent, then whispered, the global pulse. The light. Alara nodded, double quotes. We sent a powerful electromagnetic pattern during the solar storm. It must have seen it across the ocean floor. Maybe it thought we were speaking, and now we need to speak again, Malik said slowly, before it panics. Alara exhaled, before it destroys us out of fear. Across the planet, people still gathered near coastlines. The ocean glowed brighter and brighter, turning whole beaches blue. Phones were dead, internet broken in many places. But some emergency lines still worked, enough for Elor's message to spread. Her voice came through every surviving broadcast. This is Dr. Hayes, we do not have much time. The creature, under the Pacific, is not attacking us. It is frightened. We must send a comm signal. We must answer its question. People listened, confused, terrified, but they listened, she continued. It asked who we are, and we must show it. Governments across the world ordered immediate power synchronization. Engineers rushed to reconnect grids. Emergency teams rebooted towers by hand. Civilians used anything: phones, lanterns, flashlights, car headlights. Some held up tiny battery lights. Some lit candles wrapped in copper wire. Some used old radios. Some used drones. Some used rooftop signs. Billions of small lights. Malik's voice returned. Alara, regions are connecting. The pattern is forming. Alara stared at the map. Green lights spreading across continents. Flickering. Trying to sync. Is it stable? She asked. Not yet, Malik said. But people are trying. They're trying. Alara, she closed her eyes and whispered to herself. Hold together. Just a little longer. Meanwhile, beneath the Pacific, the creature opened its other eye. The glow doubled. Gardens of deep-sea coral faded in its light. Schools of fish, scattered whales screamed as they fled. The massive shell miles wide shifted cracks, lit up like glowing rivers. Symbols along its surface brightened. It was waking fully. Now, its second pulse was seconds away. Another global vibration shook the air. Cars shook, skyscrapers groaned. Children cried. The world felt the creature's fear, and Alara felt her own. She shouted, begin the signal. Across Earth, the lights flickered again. One rhythm, one heartbeat, not angry, not defensive. A soft, calm pulse, a message. We are here. We are alive. We are not your enemy. The planet glowed. Cities blinked. Mountains blinked. Boats blinked. Villages blinked. Isolated homes on lonely roads blinked. Billions of lights. Voice. Humanity. In the observatory. Screens lit up. The signal is global, Malik shouted. Alara stared at the waveform. The pattern was stable. Calm, gentle, she whispered. Please understand. Please. The lights pulsed again. Across the sea, the blue glow stopped brightening. Paused. The creature heard them. Alara leaned closer to the screen, tears building in her eyes. It's listening, she whispered. Malik exhaled. Come on, come on. And then the creature answered, but not with destruction. Not with rage. Not with a weapon. With a softer pulse. Frequency, calmer rhythm. A whisper through the water. The screens displayed the incoming signal pattern. Malik stared. Alara, this is different. This isn't aggressive. Alara studied the graph. The frequency was smooth. Warm. Curious. It's trying to match us, she said softly. It's communicating back. In New Avalon, people on the beaches gasped as the glow beneath the water faded to a gentle blue. Not violent. Not rising. Just watching. Listening. The hum softened. The vibrations eased. The ocean returned to calm. A small girl on the sand whispered to her mother, did we make it stop? Her mother hugged her. I think we made it understand. In the observatory, Alara felt her knees weaken. She sank into the chair, covering her mouth as tears fell. We did it, she whispered. We didn't fight it. We talked to it. Malik laughed, a broken, exhausted laugh. Humanity just talked to a creature older than civilization. She smiled weakly, and it talked back. The pulse from the ocean came again, soft. Slow. Peaceful. The translation wasn't perfect, but Alara recognized the meaning. Not enemy, not danger. You burn bright, she whispered. It saw our light, and it chose peace. Hours later, as dawn rose around the planet, the world remained stable. The creature stayed deep beneath the ocean, glowing, faintly, resting, watching. No longer afraid, the sun rose gently. Phones are EBOOTED. Cars restarted. People stepped outside, still shaking, but alive. And humanity realized something profound. They had saved themselves twice. Once from a storm in the sky, once from a giant in the deep, not with weapons, not with power, with unity, with light. With the simple human act of answering a call, in the observatory. Alara finally stepped outside. The morning breeze touched her face. For the first time in 2 days, she breathed deeply. Behind her, Malik spoke through the console speakers. What do we tell the world now? She looked toward the horizon, where sunlight danced on the sea. We tell them the truth, she said, that humanity faced the darkness twice, and burned brighter both times. She smiled softly, and we tell them to be ready. Malik hesitated. Ready for what? Alara looked back at the Sitha place where the ancient creature slept. For whatever wakes up next.